How was your weekend?
It was great. How was your weekend?
How could anything be bad this weekend with the weather
I know.
the way we
it
had
was beautiful. We set a record high temperature yesterday, 89 degrees. Today we're going to be around 80, but you know, it's not going to be as picture perfect because we are going to have some scattered rain and storms, but great weekend.
You know what? Maybe that's not a bad thing to cool us off.
Yeah.
Just kind of seep us slowly into
Yeah, and
the
then we're going to
summer months.
rebound by the middle part of the week.
All right, well, as I said, we do have a fun week. Before I begin, though, I have to tell my mother-in-law, Dolly, it's time to eat breakfast with us. She eats breakfast. She is our most loyal viewer. She gets up at 5, watches us from 5 to 7.
Wonderful.
Then Joe from 7 to 8, and us again 8 to 9. So she's going to eat with us.
Good morning.
Speaking of food, Chef Marco is going to be teaching us how to make a wonderful cheeseburger because it is National Burger Month.
Yummy.
Do you like regular burgers or cheeseburgers?
I prefer cheeseburgers.
Me too.
Yeah.
It kind of masks if there's too much of a meaty flavor.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like
you know, how can you go wrong with cheese? It's like second to bacon in importance.
Very close second in my mind.
And also, we kind of have a hot sauce segment that involves for you, kind of, sort of, not really. Victoria Day in Canada.
And as Joe said this morning, it is always Victoria Day. I make sure he knows that. Just kidding. All right, so what better way to start the week than with a happy ending story? You know, we had told you about this cute little boy. You might remember him. He was recovering from severe burns, and his best friend, well, they are back together. 4-year-old Eric Rodriguez's dog, Princess, was stolen right off of his family's backyard on Mother's Day. And, well, yesterday, thanks to a tip from a viewer who was touched by our story on News 4, police were able to return Princess to her family. And they have also decided, even though police do know who took the dog, that they are not going to press charges. They are just happy to have Princess back. And, I mean, it was a great story. After this was announced that a businessman came forward, he offered $700 reward for the return.
The dog back.
People were offering their dogs that they knew, you know, a puppy from a litter.
I have to say, you know, being in the news, people ask to do stories get to you. This story was one that really impacted me because not only has this little boy gone through so much, he's then given a companion, and if you have a dog, you know what it's like and how special they are to you, and then it's taken away. So I just, you know, I'm so happy that the dog was returned to him. And
exactly, and especially at such a vulnerable time. I mean, he suffered severe burns, and he was on the recovery. He wanted to recover with Princess.
Right.
And somebody snatches the dog.
And, you know, he's so little, so his emotions, you know, typically at that age, I feel like are very basic. Like, you're sad, you're scared.
Right.
And I just feel like he must have had the most sadness feeling that his puppy was taken away.
And then the most happiness when they were reunited.
I know. So good ending.
All right, and we were also talking about, last week you told us about this eclipse. The ring of, what is it, the ring of fire?
Yeah, it's called called the Ring of Fire. That didn't happen here, though. Only a partial eclipse here. You can see, right there, if you look at kind of how the sun has a little chunk taken out of it, that's the moon. So these are pictures, most of them off of Lake Erie or the Niagara River. So thanks to everybody for sending in those reported pictures. Now, the Ring of Fire is where you get the moon passing more directly over the sun, and you only get kind of that, like, ring of the sun around it because the moon is right in front of it. So it's like putting a nickel on top of a quarter, the quarter being the sun. And
people on the west coast of the United States as well as Asia, I think more specifically, were able to view it very clearly.
Right, and this was the first one to appear in the United States since 1994 to get the Ring of Fire around it, so that's kind of neat. And again, just seeing the reported pictures, I also, you know, had to think, getting into summer, beautiful sunsets in this area, and if that, you know, didn't prove it in those pictures.
Right. One of our production people, Slava, he has some family on the West Coast, and they sent pictures. They were stunning.
I can only imagine.
I'm sure if you go online, you can find it. We're going to probably post some on our Facebook page.
Yes, and you know, people in Japan and even on the West Coast were kind of having viewing parties for this. You weren't supposed to look directly at it because obviously staring at the sun is never a good thing to do.
All right, we are going to take a step back. Remember, we had Celebrity Co-Host Week last week, and our last co-host was Saber's Pat Coletta. Really super guy. We all took pictures with him, and you have to see, we were told and made aware of this likeness. Now that is our CW star, Matt, whose brother is Pat Coletta. Not really, but that's what people were saying. You guys look like you could be brothers. And you know what? Independently, I said, no way. And then when I see you guys next to each other like
I
that.
have to agree.
In that picture,
Yeah.
I can see it. I've heard it before. I've even come up to the mall, and I think people assumed I was Pat Coletta, and then some girl like looked at me and ran away and said, "It's not him."
Really?
Yeah. So I didn't think about it, but in that picture, we
You
kind
had
of
some
do.
facial hair on the bottom, which you said at one
Is
point
this
you did.
better?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
there
him.
we go. I think it's like how your hairline is too.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Similar.
Maybe your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something about it. Like we don't look alike, but then just a
In that
little
picture
bit
you
do.
do.
Yeah. Well, you're both handsome.
Yeah. Well, I'll
How
have
about
to.
There you go. You can
Well,
be Pat
thank you.
Coletta for every Halloween to come
Like,
too.
who are you? Pat Coletta.
When the need comes up, you can be Pat Coletta.
Exactly. I'm sure it'll come in useful at some point in time.
Yeah.
All right.